Like Europe, America used to build enormous, sophisticated transit hubs right in the center of our cities. The 19th century saw an explosion of them. New York's Grand Central Depot, Rochester Central Station, Chicago Central Station. These places were more than just rail depots. They were the beating hearts of early American civilization. But while Europe spent most of the 20th century fortifying and expanding their rail hubs, America did the exact opposite. Our Victorian and Beaux-Arts stations crumbled, one after the next. Replaced with office buildings and parking lots, catalyzing the age of urban decay our downtowns still haven't fully recovered from. This is exactly why I feel such mixed emotions about the train station I visited today. This is Santa Fe Depot, built in downtown San Diego in 1887 by the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad. I really wish I was around in 1887 to see it, because it too was demolished, but not for a parking lot, for this. The new Santa Fe Depot, although I'm not sure if something can still be called new when it was built all the way back in 1915. There's no denying the Victorian-era beauty of the old Santa Fe Depot, but after visiting its successor, I think this one may be even more special. It's stunningly beautiful, and yet deeply misunderstood and often overlooked. Honestly, I don't think San Diego would be the world-class city it is today without it. Now, I can back that claim up, but before I do, I should probably tell you what the depot's operations look like in the present day. So let's head out to the rail yard. First and foremost, Santa Fe Depot is the southern terminus of Amtrak's widely popular Pacific Surfliner train, the third busiest long-distance passenger train in America. Besides that, it's also the southern terminus for Coaster, San Diego County's commuter rail line that runs all the way up to Oceanside. And finally, it's a stop along San Diego Trolley's green and blue lines, where you can either go green to El Cajon or Petco Park, or go blue to La Jolla or the Mexican border. If you're interested in what it's like to ride all of San Diego Trolley's lines in one day, check out my video from last week where I did just that. Santa Fe Depot has always been a jack of all trades, even before the 1887 depot was built. In 1882, the Santa Fe Railroad incorporated the California Southern Railroad, which took cargo and passengers from National City through San Diego and north to Oceanside. By the time the first depot opened in 1887, the railroad extended all the way to Barstow, California, where the railroad officially became a part of Santa Fe's transcontinental route. But things changed real quick for the 1887 depot at the turn of the 20th century. When it was announced that San Diego would host the Panama-California Exposition in 1915, the Santa Fe Railroad decided it was a good idea to tear down the old depot and build a new one in order to match the planned architectural styles of the rest of the buildings built ahead of the exposition. More specifically, the new Mission Revival and Spanish colonial structures being built in Balboa Park. The new depot was built much larger than its predecessor, and was done so to make sure it could accommodate the influx of visitors coming into the city for the exposition itself. The Santa Fe Railroad operated 3 daily local trains and 1 express train running between Los Angeles and the new Santa Fe Depot, on a stretch of tracks known as the Surf Line, which is in fact where Amtrak's present-day Pacific Surfliner gets its name from. Eventually, by 1919, Santa Fe's operations would grow to 9 daily weekday trains and 12 weekend trains. That same year, the depot would see its second long-distance rail company move in, the San Diego and Arizona Railroad, founded by John D. Spreckels, the owner of San Diego's 2 most prominent newspapers, making Spreckels the richest man in San Diego at the time. That railroad operated freight and passenger service on 3 main lines, one to Coronado Island, one to Lakeside in East County, and one to El Centro in Imperial County, with further connections north and east via Southern Pacific. What's crazy is that San Diego's modern blue and orange light rail lines still use some portions of those old rail alignments, specifically the stretch between downtown and the Mexican border, and the stretch between downtown and Santee. While the 2 railroads shared the train station from 1919 to 1951, it actually went by the name San Diego Union Depot until Spreckels Railroad ceased operations in 1951. But aside from long-distance trains, Santa Fe Depot would also see several streetcar lines too. In 1892, the San Diego Electric Railway's first line was inaugurated here at the 1887 depot. You're looking at a photo of one passing by in 1895. And wouldn't you know it, the San Diego Electric Railway was also founded by John D. Spreckels. His San Diego Electric Railway system essentially built the city as we know it. San Diego's most beloved neighborhoods today, like Bankers Hill, University Heights, Hillcrest, North Park, and South Park, they were all once powerhouse streetcar suburbs that developed around the electric railway lines built through them. Full video diving deep into each and every one of these neighborhoods coming very soon. And when the new depot was being planned, it certainly had the streetcar in mind. Originally, it featured a forecourt built out with these beautiful brick arches that simultaneously acted as a surplus waiting area for the railroad passengers, but also doubled as a shelter for the streetcar lines that stopped there. Santa Fe Depot's forecourt and arches were ultimately demolished in 1956 to make way for, you guessed it, a parking lot. Eventually, though, another patio would be built here in the 90s, sadly without any of the arches or streetcar lines running through. After the nationwide decline in rail travel throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s, the depot was almost demolished when developers were pushing hard to build a high-rise office in its place. Thankfully, those plans fell through when preservationists were able to add the building to the National Register of Historic Places in 1972, which stifled any redevelopment plans. Though, as you can see from this overhead view, there was a lot of other open land for developers to take advantage of. See, for almost its entire life, the plots of land surrounding Santa Fe Depot were largely underdeveloped. The area never really established a unique and lasting identity, even until the present day. After all, the 1887 depot was built on cheap land beside the Chinatown shanties. Then it developed into rail yards, warehouses, canneries, vacant storefronts, and underused tenements. And then it went through even further post-war decline. Then urban renewal efforts began in the 80s. And now the depot is a century-old train station in the middle of a hodgepodge of condos, office buildings, and hotels. The only other surviving building from the Exposition era is this, just across Broadway. It was built as the powerhouse for the San Diego Electric Railway back in 1911, although even it couldn't escape the hand of modernity. But onto the depot building itself, where there is a whole lot to admire. The vintage Santa Fe signage and branding, the historic plaques and place markers, the handcrafted details of the rooftop molding. But of course, my favorite thing about the south facade are these domes, expertly decorated with the depot's now iconic terracotta tiles. These beautifully restored blue, green, and yellow glazed tiles adorn both the inside and outside of the depot building. On the exterior, the tiles are laid in a fish scale pattern, overlapping in tight, rhythmic rows that accentuate the dome's curvature. The rich, earth-colored glazing contrasts beautifully with the building's white stucco walls, naturally drawing the eye upward as it pays homage to the ceramic domes found atop Mediterranean and Spanish colonial-era churches. On the interior, the tiles compose the base around the walls of the waiting room. They're arranged in a continuous band of deep indigo blue, sage green, and golden orange, stylized in floral, geometric, and almost tribal patterns. The sunshine reflecting off the glazing gives the wall a jewel box-like quality, catching light through the arched windows and animating the space throughout the day. Without these pops of color, Santa Fe Depot would probably be a quite dull and colorless place, especially on these gloomy marine layer mornings. Apparently, the glazed tiling at Santa Fe Depot was created by the same company that produced all of the tiling featured on the buildings in Balboa Park. I even managed to make my way over to Balboa Park to see some of it for myself. The details found here at Santa Fe Depot are so unique. I haven't been able to find anything else like them in any other American rail station I've been to. And I can really appreciate the painstaking work that must have gone into restoring and preserving the tile work throughout the last century. I also love the boldness of Santa Fe's brand markings themselves. The railroad logo was built into seemingly every corner of this place. From the tiling, to the chandeliers, to the exit and entryways, the logo is everywhere. Amazing when you consider the company hasn't operated rail service through here since 1971. Funny enough, when I was riding the Pacific Surfliner down here from Los Angeles to make this video, I spotted the Santa Fe branding on more than one station along the route. Not to get off topic, but Fullerton Station in Orange County is one of my favorite areas for rail fanning in Southern California, since it's still home to all three of its original depot buildings. The Union Pacific Depot, which is now an old spaghetti factory, the Southern Pacific and Pacific Electric Depot, now the Hopscotch Tavern, and the Santa Fe Depot, now Fullerton's Amtrak station. I'll probably make a video here too eventually. In an era of fierce competition for passenger and freight rail, bold and loud logo placements like this acted as a visual anchor for the railroad companies, a way for them to stamp their presence across thousands of miles. Whether in a remote outpost or a major city, familiar logos like these reassured travelers that they were connected to a vast yet dependable network. If you ever find yourself visiting an old American city with lots of rail history, keep an eye out for things like this. Santa Fe Depot's waiting room itself has changed quite a bit since 1915. The 16 large bronze and glass chandeliers hanging from the ceiling are original. This signage over here is left over from when the depot had a dedicated waiting room for women, which is where the women's restroom is today. And over here by the men's restroom used to be a dedicated men's smoking room. This signage on the outside of the waiting room, taken from the platform area, is left over from when there was a gift shop built into the side of it. Unfortunately, the original wooden gift shop, ticket counters, check room, newsstand, and a few other shops along the west side of the waiting room have since been completely removed over the years. And this woodwork is left over from when the depot housed railroad offices on its second floor. For some time there have been rumblings of turning the now vacant space into a 30-room hotel or creative offices, but that's yet to happen. And there's actually a pretty sizable section of Santa Fe Depot that's no longer accessible to passengers, located in an area behind the present-day Amtrak counter. Apparently there used to be a restaurant back there. A Fred Harvey lunchroom, separated from the waiting room by an arched wall that you can just barely see in very old photos taken of the inside. This is the only surviving image online of the lunchroom itself. So sorry for the low quality. This was one of many Fred Harvey lunchrooms built inside Santa Fe Railroad depots. In 1876, Fred Harvey was contracted by the railroad company to establish a system-wide operation, and the restaurants were highly successful. Even the original Santa Fe Depot had one. There's no publicly available information or photos of what this room looks like today, but my guess is it's probably being used as a storage closet or something. It operated here from the depot's opening up until 1954. Similarly to the vacant offices upstairs, I would love for the depot's owners to find a way to convert the space into something like a coffee shop, or if it's big enough, maybe even a modern take on the Fred Harvey lunchroom. On the other side of the Amtrak counter is this walkway, where travelers can actually bypass the inside altogether, either getting to or getting off their desired train. And on the other side of the open alley is where the baggage and express services were housed, essentially the depot's luggage and freight handling wing, operated by the Railway Express Agency. When I went to college in the city in 2018, I specifically remember visiting a museum inside the north wing of the depot. That was the San Diego Museum of Contemporary Art's downtown location, which shuttered its doors in March of 2024. The University of California, San Diego has since purchased the space and has plans to turn it into a cultural center. But maybe the most iconic part of the depot's exterior is this massive 1950s-era Santa Fe sign. The iconic blue and white sign is said to be made of wooden planks and sheet metal dyed with shiny enamel paint. And as you can tell from the amount of footage I shot of it, it's my favorite part of the depot. This is truly a special place. Historically, architecturally, culturally, Santa Fe Depot has been the beating heart of the city's rail identity ever since it was built. It's welcomed generations of travelers through its grand arches, facilitated the movement of produce, mail and military freight, and even into the present day, the depot continues to anchor San Diego to the rest of the country. If you would like to visit Santa Fe Depot on the rails today, you've got a few options. The Pacific Surfliner timetable is constantly changing, but usually trains operate daily with 12 round trips between LA and San Diego. Beyond LA, a few trains continue north to Santa Barbara, usually around 4 times a day, while an even smaller number, usually around 2, extend all the way to San Luis Obispo, the northern end of the Pacific Surfliner, and where you can connect further onto the Coast Starlight train all the way up to Seattle. The coaster commuter rail trains here are even more frequent, operating 7 days a week with about 30 weekday round trips, Monday to Thursday, and 32 on Fridays with later evening departures. On the weekends, Coaster offers around 20 round trips per day, starting later in the morning and maintaining wider gaps between trains, roughly every 60 to 100 minutes. Additional late-night service is sometimes added for Padres games, major events, or increased summer travel demand. As for the trolley, it's best if we break that down by line. The Blue Line operates daily from 4:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m., providing connections to various destinations including Old Town, UC San Diego, and the Mexican border. During peak hours, trolleys arrive approximately every 7 minutes, with service extending to every 15 minutes during off-peak hours. The Green Line runs during the same time frame, only with different destinations like Fashion Valley Mall, San Diego State University, and Snapdragon Stadium. Trains typically arrive every 15 minutes during most of the day, with increased frequency during peak hours and major events too. 3 railroads. Just like the old days. And that's kind of what I love most about Santa Fe Depot. Throughout the many decades of surrounding car-centric chaos, it always stood firm, reminding San Diegans of the importance and necessity of passenger rail in a healthy American city. It doesn't seem like the depot will be changing much anytime soon either. San Diego still hasn't made a solid concrete decision on its airport people mover or light rail connection plans, even though the obvious solution is a direct connection to and from Santa Fe Depot. So that's still a pretty big unknown. And the California High-Speed Rail Authority is still unsure about what their plans are for connecting San Diego to the in-progress project. However, according to the official summary for Phase 2, the Los Angeles to San Diego segment, Santa Fe Depot is mentioned as a possible station, but in practice the route has shifted inland, and the planned southern terminus is slated to be at the new Airport Intermodal Transit Center, which doesn't even exist yet, and is still in the very, very early planning stages. My guess is the airport project gets built around 2040, and the high-speed rail around 2060 or later. Look, don't shoot the Gessinger, I'm just looking at what they've done so far. And, well, you already know how that's went. It's really anyone's guess what the next 110 years will look like for Santa Fe Depot. My guess, though, I think Santa Fe Depot will look almost entirely the same. What, you think that's far-fetched? Here is the depot the year Woodrow Wilson was president, the same year Babe Ruth hit his first home run, and the same year Charlie Chaplin was America's rising star. And here's the depot 110 years later. Not so far-fetched now, is it? Anyway, I'll see you next week. From 4th place.